Here are some instructions for completing this activity. The first thing that you want to do is enter your data into the chart right here. I'm going to make up some numbers. You just highlight the cell that you want to put the information into, enter the number, press return. Please pay attention to the columns. It goes from least amount of clips to greatest amount of clips. So according to my data, I had 5 trials. Okay, we don't want to graph every separate trial, we just want to graph the average. And to do this using numbers, it's kind of a cool feature. Take your mouse and highlight the cells with the data in it. And you can see when you do that over here to the left, your average is already figured out for you. So at the bottom, I'm just going to write that number, 2.8 seconds. I'm going to do the same thing for my trials with 2 clips. Make sure you don't do any blank cells. And this one is 5.2. And then finally, the last set of data. Time it took for the Whirligig to fall when there were 3 clips, and that's also 5.2. Okay, so now I have the average of all my sets of data. To generate our graph, we're just going to highlight those 3 cells. We're going to go up to the charts icon up at the top of the page and click on the second one here, which is a 3D bar graph, and say OK. You can see our graph popped up down here, and I'm going to drag it onto my post-it note over here. And the pretty cool thing about this bar graph is it's 3D. By holding and clicking the mouse, you can rotate the graph. So as you know, every graph needs to have some identifying information, including a title and the axes labeled. So to do that, I want to make sure that your graph is highlighted and go up to the inspector, and probably it was showing chart on the middle of the 3 options. Click on axis, and for the y-axis we're going to open that drop down and click show title, and you can see now there's a column that says value title. We're going to have to go in and name that. Please do the same thing for the x-axis, show title. Okay, great. To label the axes, double click on the graph till you see the 2 little white dots. You can now see that the title here went from being vertical to horizontal. So go ahead and just edit that. This was time in seconds that it took for the Whirligigs to fall. And then hit return to save it. Do the same thing down for the x-axis. The last thing that we're going to do is finish titling our graph. To do that, follow the same procedures that you did when you labeled the axes. Except this title down here we can delete, so just click on it. When you see the text box is highlighted as indicated by these 2 little squares, just delete it. And then where it says chart 7, or whatever the name of your chart is, it might be chart 1, just go ahead and click on that till you get those 2 little circles again and rename it. I'm going to call mine Whirligig. You can be creative. Notice that it's capitalized, the spelling is correct, and you are good to go.